Okay. Hello. All right. So first off, for the icebreaker, I wanted to ask, what your dream job was as a kid, because mine was not social work, actually. I wanted to be a marine biologist. Um, yeah.
Hmm.
So I was a really weird kid, and I was like 7, and I was like, I want to be a therapist. So I have been saying that I wanted to do that for a very long time. And I think I thought I was so like emotionally mature and like in tune, and I think I was just a little weird. So
That's great.
Brie also same thing. I think I don't remember if I told you guys, but my youngest brother, um, adopted brother, he was in the foster care system for a little bit. So we fostered him for, several years before we adopted him into our family. But I just remember all the social workers and the occupational therapists and people coming into my house, and I was like, I'm doing something like that, ever
Yeah.
since I was little. But if I hadn't had those experiences, it probably would be different. But
Hmm. That's great.
Mine's completely different. Well, I mean, part of it I do writing, but I wanted to be a journalist or a
Mm.
writer and live in New York City. That's what I thought I would be, living in New York City and a journalist.
Yeah, I was going to be a lawyer for a long time. Then I realized what that entailed and how much everything it entailed. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to be a lawyer. Um, then I was going to be a police officer and realized I'd have to like work all these crazy shifts. And then, like, when I got to be like an adult, when I was like actually going for it, and I got offered a 9 to 5 job making way more money with like it, I had benefits and all this stuff. And I was like, this was before I thought about having a family. Now I'm thinking about having a family. I was in that awkward stage and I went, nope, I just switched. I flipped. It was like a switch just flipped in me and I was like, can't do it. I couldn't
Hmm.
do it. I know I wouldn't be the same person. And so that's where I'm at here.
There you go.
Yeah.
I guess for me, it's been a lot of different things as well. So I've had a veterinarian, I've had artists. I actually majored in art in school. Um, I've had police officer as well.
Nice.
Mhm.
Then I went to Japan instead. And I taught English for a year. But I guess one thing throughout my career that I've noticed, I did wind up in the human services field quite a bit for many, many years. And I love that human connection and being able to help others in a healthy way, I
Mhm.
guess.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and I think that even in my artwork that I did when I was in school, it was about also um I guess highlighting things such as like social inequity and stuff like that. So it kind of fits in. But yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So I wanted to talk about some supports that we might need or want as social workers. Um, like for self-care, or if after a really bad case, like we just need someone to talk to. Um, and the National Association of Social Workers has a bunch on their website. Um, and they have a bunch of articles, but I kind of wanted to hear from you guys what you look for, because there's not really a lot out there for us other than being told to do self-care.
Mhm.
I think this is an interesting topic, and I was just talking about it with my supervisor in the sense of she wants to know whether or not I'm going to come on board permanently by December. And I'm looking at some other big companies because the salaries are pretty high to come into these other companies. But I only want to work part time because I have my other business. So supervision is important to me. So weighing when I look at a position and being new, the amount of supervision I think is going to help me be a better therapist. So I'm taking that until I can sit for that clinical exam. I want as much supervision and continued learning as possible. So I think that the environment that I go into has to be respectful of self-care and boundaries. So
Yeah.
instead of working you to death. Like, so
Yeah.
I'm being picky about, and you can't always be picky, but I'm being really picky about where I decide to go afterwards.
That makes sense. Yeah.
I think there's like always that debate, like if you want to be a therapist, should you have gone through therapy yourself? I don't know if you guys have heard that either,
Yeah.
but like, so I went to therapy myself also, for a variety of reasons, but I think that that was very beneficial. And then that it just so happened that that relationship turned into a professional relationship because of the guidance that she was giving me in therapy. So I had to stop seeing her as a therapist. And now she's actually going to be my clinical supervisor for my internship and things like that. So we kind of had to break it off there. So it was very interesting to see how that like transpired. But yeah, I think that therapy in and of itself, like being a client in therapy, can be very beneficial too.
Mhm. Yeah,
Mhm.
I also I had done therapy like a couple years ago before school, and that's what made me want to come and be a social worker. But I was really burnt out during my internship, and I had a couple of really tough cases, so I went back to therapy, and so I'm still seeing that therapist like while I go through school, and it's very beneficial. Like especially when I do my internship, if I have a tough case, like I can go and have supervision like at the internship, but then also have my therapist to talk about it
Mhm.
with.
Yeah, that's me too.
Yeah.
Same.
Yes, same.
Mhm.
And I also respect you, Sherry, for being picky about things. And I think uh, in my last class with Allie, I don't know if you guys have had Allie before. She was very much like, some things that you want to look out for in your job is what the supervision's going to look like, if they're going to be able to help you get your clinical license, what does ongoing training look like, are they going to pay for it, like all of those different things. And I actually reached out to her after class and was like, hey, so I know they don't have mentors and stuff in or like, um, they don't have like an official mentor program in our school, but I was like, hey, can I be taken under your wing or
Oh,
something? Because like
Oh,
she has so much information. So yeah.
Mhm.
that's cool.
Nice.
I like
yeah.
Sherry that you. Oh,
Oh,
go
go ahead.
ahead.
No,
Oh,
no.
I was say I like that you mentioned that like it's better to have a job that values self care and isn't just working you to death. Because my previous job before the one I have now, we didn't have sick days,
Ooh.
so we would have to use PTO if we had to call out. And then we didn't have any holidays. The only holidays my job recognized was Thanksgiving and Christmas.
That's
Ooh,
brutal.
that is
So,
brutal.
and
I'm
we
like getting
couldn't
anxiety just hearing about it.
we couldn't request those days off either because it was a residential facility. So we couldn't request that time off at all. So if you were lucky and Christmas or Thanksgiving fell on your day off, awesome. If you weren't, then you were working.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
And
and then you would call out and you'd basically get a call from your supervisor guilt tripping you into coming into work.
wow.
Mm.
It reminds me of this scarcity mentality that early childhood faces and getting staff into classrooms, like daycare staff. So I think that we have such a great opportunity as coming out in the field, and like everyone who's graduating, like we shouldn't, like if we work on a scarcity mentality, it will continue to be tolerated. Like,
Right.
so
Mhm.
I really encourage everyone, like, be picky. Like, if you can only take PTO time, make sure they're giving you a lot of PTO time.
Everyone.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I started job searching already, and there's tons of jobs out there. So advocating for that, you
Yeah.
know,
So, Sherry, a quick question, which is, I don't know, maybe I should wait till after. I don't know. Yeah, I'll wait till after.
Okay. So my next question is, what does burnout look like for you? Like, and how do you address it professionally and like in your personal life? How do you address it?
I feel open enough to speak to my supervisor about it. They're really supportive there, about preventing burnout. So I'll go right to her and be like, I'm feeling it, and to me it feels like excessive anxiety. Like I just can't get everything done all at once and I start to overwhelm. That's kind of what it feels like for me. So I speak to my supervisor and we come up with a plan. I either take a day off, plan a day off like here or there, and then we work on the workload to figure out how to lighten it or shift it or something.
you have a very supportive supervisor. That's great to be able to, um, that they're walking, they're walking the talk, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful.
Yeah,
For
I
me,
was
I
gonna
just start.
say.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
For me, I just start to feel like very apathetic, which is not typical. So I know something's off, and then I just need to start taking better care of myself, going to bed earlier, doing more things that I enjoy to replenish.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Deanne, about the supervisor thing, that like I started feeling burnout when I was in child welfare, and I had been there for like 7 years. And I had an excellent supervisor, and they definitely walked the talk, but I think it was like a greater systemic issue that everybody was going through. I don't know how it is with you guys, Sydney, but um I know for me, I started reaching burnout, and I was like sitting in my car for like half an hour to an hour after like a day of home visits, and um starting to cry every day. I started going to the gym and working out excessively. Um and
Okay. I
yeah.
found this on the web
Oh my
for
God.
going to the gym and working
Oh.
out.
Do you hear that? What just happened? Sorry about that. Darn Siri.
The internet said, "Let me help you real quick."
Yeah, but I think there were like probably there were signs that kind of started leading up to that, and I wish I had listened to them a little bit more closely, like not working so much. Like I would do the 5 hours of like overtime, but then I would also be giving 10 hours that I wasn't paid for in the week. That adds up.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
I, for me, like and we've talked about this in other groups, but the ability to set boundaries is so
Mhm.
important because we're seeing how it impacts like boundaries, the idea of being perfect, that we're not going to be able to solve everybody's problems. So I think reconciling and knowing where our limitations are. Um, I had never taken antidepressants until a year ago. So, and, and seeing a therapist. So, I would say, like, if your arm was broken, you would do something to fix it. So,
Mhm.
but I was at a point of at extreme fatigue from work, not sure what I wanted to do, and just wanting to find the joy again, like, right? And the joy in
Mhm.
getting up in the morning. And I waited till too late. It was when I was sitting at the primary care doctor's office. I don't know why I'm crying. Yeah. And they're like, have you
Mhm.
ever thought of taking an antidepressant? No, I don't want to. And,
Mhm.
I, you know, personal history of my mom being addicted to prescription drugs, I was very against it. So, but I think, we could be doing all the best things and we can still reach burnout. So I think,
Mhm.
you know, knowing that it's going to happen and being gentle with yourself when it does, but doing the best to minimize it along the way.
Mhm. Yep.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Kind of preparing for the most likely eventual burnout you'll hit at some point because it's very stressful jobs.
Yeah.
I wish I could see how long I've been recording
Mhm.
because I don't want to go over, but I don't want to be under either. Um,
We're almost at 20.
oh, okay. I didn't have another question either,
We have,
so
we have like
that's
5 minutes left.
okay. Um, well, I guess the last question that just occurred to me was, what resources would you look for if you were like going on Google and looking for support for yourself as a social worker, like, and just like that's what you typed into Google? Because that's what I typed in, and all I got was like self-care ideas.
Yeah.
Um, so like, is
So
there something specific you'd look for?
yeah, one of the things that and we take training, I don't know what it stands for. I'm trying to Google it right now, but PESI, and taking training, it's self-paced training. So I think that ongoing professional development so that you can still feel competent, um, because there's a lot, like there's still a lot to learn, right? Um, I don't know what PESI stands for. Some of it you have to pay for and create an
Mhm,
account, but they're really great trainings and you can get different certifications.
mhm.
So, it might just be on expressive arts therapy. So I think for me, I love learning. So after school, keeping up with that learning to keep up with my skills will be worth the time and investment,
Yeah.
not like all the time, but if I want to get deeper into a therapeutic approach, you know, I certainly want to receive additional training. So I think building competency can help avoid burnout.
Yeah. Yeah, my job will occasionally throw us a training that's mandatory, or if it's something that like we really want to do and it's a CE credit, they'll pay for us to do it. We just have to write the proposal up and send it to them, which is a pain, but
I think finding like your team, finding your support. So I was lucky enough to I work with a really good group of people, and probably if I didn't work with them, it would be much more difficult to do the job that I do. And then like the mentor, my therapist who turned into my mentor, um, she really helped. But I think that if you can just find some good people, it's not there's no magic formula or like
right.
way to do that, but I don't know. I kind of just held out for it for a little bit, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? So,
I just, um, sorry, I
in the
just dropped
chat,
something.
I
I
saw
just
it.
dropped it in the chat area.
Is that the one I just found, or because I looked, I googled it too.
I would
Oh, it is the
say,
one I just found. Oh,
um,
sorry.
oh no, sorry. Um, I would say that anything, and this doesn't really pertain so much to Google, but anything that we're like kind of like asking our clients to do, like we're like, oh, like you should really take care of your mental health. Like, maybe you could get some tools to do these things, or, maybe you should get established at a primary, you know, like all these different things that affect the social determinants of life, like that we kind of collectively ask our people to do are like probably like really, really good things for us to do ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, like I think it like we're almost like a reflection of that. Like we or at least we should be.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I definitely feel hypocritical when I'm telling somebody in a crisis, well, you should practice some self-care and some deep breathing. And then I hang up the phone and I'm like, I tell them that, but I should be doing that too. And I don't. So
it's hard. It's hard. Like when it deals with yourself,
Yeah.
you know.
Mhm.
anyone else have anything?
No, I'd probably just Google, like you said, like
Yeah.
certain support for clinical therapists.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good idea. I didn't think of clinical therapists. I just put in social workers.
Oh yeah,
And
well,
it
I was
gave us
thinking,
like, it gave me like how to support your clients,
yeah,
not you as a person.
right.
Which I found really frustrating because I was like, why isn't there any support for us?
Mm-hmm.
I'm
So,
Yeah,
going
I
back
don't.
to Brene Brown, but she has interviewed several different authors that have written about burnout and how to kind of creatively handle that. So you guys should check out her podcasts.
Love Brene Brown.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think there's some of them on the NASW website too.
Oh,
Like I
wow.
think some of them are posted. I'm trying to remember. There's a couple podcasts they have posted. So, yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's all the time we have, so I'm gonna stop the recording.
Okay.